Tonight's focus is on cycling for transportation, to work, to school, for shopping, to meetings, to recurring activities or events, and so forth. As was noted by the CEO of Sestran in the UK on a cycle in the central Broadway corridor a while back, there is now a critical mass of cyclists on the streets, making motorists aware that cyclists would be about. One can always see a cyclist on the road. Sestran is the UK's leading sustainability transportation organisation, focusing on people being able to choose their travels in a way that benefits their health and the environment. Cycling growth within the city has benefited from the implementation of the 1999 Bike Plan. People who needed something more than shared roadways were attracted to the improvements in the cycling infrastructure. The implementation of the 2001 Downtown Transportation Plan should give a boost to cycling growth in the next few years. The first few kilometres of cycling infrastructure were brought in around the mid-1980s, followed by the evolution of the bike routes starting in 1990. But the level of cycling within the city of Vancouver does not compare well to European cities. There are some cities with cycling levels in the range of Vancouver, such as London, but London has significant plans to change that. A number of cities have grown their cycling levels well beyond the 10% range, such as Berlin, Zurich, and so on. And in fact, some have gone up into the 43% range. What it says to us is there's room for growth. Annual rate of growth has been, for Vancouver, the annual rate of growth has been slow and been in the range of 0.15 to 0.4%, and even less in the region at 0.04%. Cycling growth has been far outpaced by population and car ownership growth. In the city of Vancouver the last 10 years, yearly average growth in cycling to work was about 500 people, while the population went up 5,000 and car ownership went up about the same level. In the GVRD, there are the equivalent numbers to that. Can VAC's target be met for 10% like cycling mode share by 2010 and then moving on to the levels of cycling aggressive European cities, usually considered in the 15 to 25% range? The answer is yes, if there's political will supported by aggressive municipal staff and by funding. Look at what has been achieved in Portland and Bogota within 5-year periods. Cycling in Bogota has grown from 0.5% to 5% in 5 years, while Portland has grown cycling modestly from 1.12% in 1990 to 1.79% in 2000, then aggressively to 3.51% in 2005. Portland's annual cycling growth rate exceeds Vancouver by more than twice. Now Portland is competing with Vancouver for cycling to work. Yes, it can be done if there's a will. Current argument used to support investing in cycling infrastructure, build it and they will come, which addresses people who fall into the second wave. But this approach can only be sustained for so long, as evident by the slow growth rate. With cycling mode share for commuting to work between 3.3 and 4.1%, and slow growth, annual growth rate of 0.15% for the last 10 years, the reality is that most commuters have rejected cycling for transportation at this time. Just consider the ongoing cycling turnover, people who try cycling for transportation and decide after a few years to leave it. Consider the continued growth of cars in the city and the region. But if conditions are conducive, then cycling will be chosen as a preferred mode of transportation, as evidenced by the bus strike of 2001 and a 25% jump in cycling to work from the previous census. We tend to build models as a way of understanding things. What is needed to induce people to leave their cars and cycle for transportation instead? One popular model that looks at what causes change is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This diagram shows this model represented as a pyramid, with the most basic needs at the bottom. When considering this model, one argument which may be made is that to attract people in the third wave, cycling facility designs should be tested for a fit to this model. To attract people in third wave, cycling facility design should address the basic needs first, namely biological, psychological, and safety needs. One may suggest that for cycling facilities designed to be successful in attracting more people in the future for cycling for transportation, especially those who do not do it now, design will need to address factors affecting personal decision-making in choosing cycling for the next trip. Over the past 16 years, as a cycling advocate and one interested in factors affecting personal decision-making process, this model has evolved for me. While listening to people's descriptive or anecdotal insight why they did not or will not cycle for transportation or had given it up, from analyzing some surveys which may yield some insight. The model looks at considerations that are cycling related in decision-making process, not those that are personal or driven by other factors. Most of the factors are at the safety needs level in Maslow's model. It is argued here that cycling facility designs targeted for cycling for transportation growth should primarily focus on safety need portion of Maslow's model for future cyclists, not just the needs of current cyclists. It is also proposed that successful cycling facility designs for future cyclists needs to address these factors identified in the slide. Design should be tested for the fit to this model of the cyclist. For the third wave of cycling, it should be recognized that in this model, self-esteem aspect towards penchant for cycling will not be a factor in the future, as it has been in the past. These people who will be in the future cyclists have transportation options and will choose the mode for any trip that makes most sense to them. Road factors and cycling facilities will be important considerations, or else they will just continue to drive. Dr. Kate Teskey undertook the Cycling the City study. This is a major cycling study undertaken within Greater Vancouver in 2005 and 2006, and first results are expected to be completed this year. From the survey results, it is hoped that factors will be better understood, which will contribute towards a step change forward in cycling for transportation. Raw data from the study will be the source of comments for the next few slides. What is the marketplace? Will it accommodate a growth in cycling to reach that of aggressive European levels? Taking a look at Census Canada 2001 data and the results from the Cycling City studies, in the city study, it would appear that the transportation marketplace is made up of about 1.2% of confident regular cyclists, dedicated cyclists who need little road infrastructure. 7.1% are regular cyclists who cycle for transportation at least once a week with the current bike plans, infrastructure, and network. 12.5% are non-regular cyclists who currently drive and who also cycle infrequently, less than once per week, rarely for transportation. 3.7% are potential cyclists who currently drive and could be persuaded to consider cycling for transportation. What is the opportunity to grow cycling? The first and second wave consist of 21,000 City of Vancouver cyclists who cycle to work at least once a week, resulting in about 10,000 cyclists daily on the road making their commute. The third wave marketplace consists of non-regular and potential cyclists, is estimated at 40,000 cyclists to work or 80,000 cyclists for transportation, with potential for the current portion, the cycling portion of the transportation mode share to grow to 20%. From the Cycling the City survey, it is suggested that the target customers should be people who own bicycles but use them rarely, and also those who could be induced to cycle for transportation. Some who may have owned bicycles in the past or may have them in storage, the non-regular, the potential cyclist. From the survey, it is evident that if significant growth in cycling for transportation is achieved, then non-regular cyclists and potential cyclists will need to be induced through cycling facilities designed focusing on increased bike routes, safer bike routes, secure bike facilities, and urban design density planning focusing on shorter distances. The survey also showed that cycling facility design will have positive effect if the design contributes to the road is away from traffic, noise, and air pollution. The road has beautiful scenery, has bicycle paths separate from traffic for the entire distance, is flat. Good luck in Vancouver. Cycling to the destination takes less time than traveling by other modes. Bikes can be taken on SkyTrain. There's secure indoor bike storage, and two-way off-street bike paths have reflective lines for night and poor weather cycling. And that design will divert people from choosing if they have to cycle on noisy, busy roads. There are major streets with parked cars, cycling along, cars driving fast, and rainy, slick services, which would be